Well, the results of this year's elections are all but declared. In fact, 99% of the vote has been counted, it's been audited, it's been shown on the leaderboard. We're looking at a bloodbath for the African National Congress. Whether or not you expected that is up to debate. But one of the newcomers in parliament this year is Rise Mzansi, and I'm speaking now to the leader, Songezo Zibi. Thank you so much for joining us on Salam Media. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, interesting times. I mean, we're looking at the results on the leaderboard here at the National Results Operations Center. Fresh faces on the ballot. Certainly, this does look like a refresher. Just reflecting on your experience so far, about a year ago, where was Rise Mzansi versus today? Today, you've got 2 parliamentary seats. What's that looking like for you? How's that experience been?
Thank you so much. As non-politicians, because we all had careers somewhere, and some of us were community workers, some of us were in the corporate sector, some of us were in NGOs, social justice, and so on. Everybody in the Rise Mzansi leadership team was doing something, somewhat related to politics for some of us, but not in politics, not in electoral politics. So it was a completely new experience. And we knew that whatever we thought we could achieve would have to be modest, because we're dealing with people who've been doing this for many years, they've got strong support bases and so on. I'll just mention 3 things which I think are really important. The first is that our instinct that politics doesn't talk specifically about things that affect people in their homes was true. People told us that about their challenges about being single mothers. You don't hear that being spoken about. People spoke about their challenges relating to hunger. We were the political party that spoke about those issues. People were not complaining about drug abuse and drug dealing and substance abuse. Basically, a pandemic of young people are drowning in drugs. So that's the one insight that we took away. The second insight that we took away is that the big missing thing is actually trust more than the specific solutions say you're going to bring. People just don't trust political parties and politicians, and you see it in the voter turnout, right? People just are not voting in big numbers. So that is the second thing. The third thing is that being in a political campaign is stressful. There's never enough time, never enough money, never enough people. And you're like, why did I do this? Like, it's a headache every day. But I must also tell you, it's been fulfilling. And for me, I cried a few times in this election. I cried a few times. I realized that people in a meeting were actually hungry in that very moment. They hadn't eaten, because now when you ask, they say, no, our last 8 years at the time, it's like 4 p.m. And you think, oh my God, like these people haven't eaten. There have been a few instances where when everybody's gone, you take some food to the family. I'm not comfortable with calling the media and all of that. So there are instances like that, or people related to personal experience that you just think, a youngster who made us talk about mental health said my father would still be alive if the public health system had psychological services. They didn't, and my father killed himself. I don't have my mom anymore. I'm by myself. How do you deal with that? So anyway, so those are some of the things.
Yeah, just looking at the results, I mean, we've got a lot of newcomers in this election. The MK party is really something many people are talking about, and they are really representing a kind of shift in the politics in South Africa. What kind of a parliament are you expecting to go to, understanding that you are going this in parliament and you are going to be represented there?
I can tell you what I'm hoping for. I don't know what it's going to be like. I'm hoping that all of us can just grow up, can take the matters before Parliament seriously, stop the silliness, stop the swearing, do the work seriously. And the election is over. And if we need to work together across ideological lines to solve a problem for the South African people, let us just do it. That's the spirit with which we're going to Parliament, to try and serve as best as we can. The second and last thing is just stay in touch with the people. Don't disappear.
Yeah.
Because the election is done. That makes people not trust democracy. Let us all stay in touch with the people.
I mean, if we can just quickly touch on the Palestine issue, which is something Rise Mzansi has been very passionate about. especially over the last few months. We noticed initially when the 7th of October happened, many of the political parties in South Africa had reacted. They either condemned Hamas, they
Right.
condemned Israel, or they condemned both or none. And I think many had pointed out that at the time, Rise Mzansi was not the loudest voice
Yeah.
on this issue.
Yeah.
But in more recent months, this was really something that came to the fore in your campaign.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that experience
Yeah.
and that shift.
I'm so glad
that
you've
was-
asked. You know, and this is the first time I'm sharing this in public. So we had our convention on the 6th of October, 6th to the 8th. We actually had no idea the thing had happened at all. Okay? So we do the 6th, we do the 7th. On the 8th, we're actually busy with the convention and it was being televised. So, like, we have no idea. Then on the 9th, which is a Monday, where the debriefing meeting, I've also just read and heard. To be honest with you, I didn't know anything about a Hamas attack or anything. I thought it was the usual thing that Israel does, right? And so we initially prepared a statement. And then somebody pointed out that, hey, hang on, do you appreciate what happened here in its fullness? And it was only then. And by then, other political parties had commented, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is a new political organization. You actually haven't, remember, the convention is to establish what our positions are generally on many things, right? We simply hadn't. We just like haven't even had the time to communicate what we are about. We've got a diverse support and that kind of thing. And I admit we took time because the internal discussion took a heck of a long time. I mean, what do we say now versus later? And there are differing views within our organization. My job as a leader is to ensure that you patiently get the leadership, the entire leadership, to a position of consensus where we can be strong and we kind of stand up for each other and we communicate one position. It's easier to do if you're an ANC that has decades of supporting the Palestinians. Some of us have also supported Palestine, we've been pro Palestine all our lives for obvious reasons, right? Because of the similarities between they and our experience with apartheid in South Africa, right? But you have to, as a leader, you have to keep your collective together. That took time, but I also want to thank some of my colleagues. Irfan Mangera was absolutely fantastic in helping us to get to a position of consensus. Ishmael Kabela was particularly helpful. Nick Binadel, Mantla Isaacs, and so on. And in the end, we've got a position that we communicate consistently, and yeah.
But I think also when you mentioned that the Oppenheimer funding is something that comes out quite prominently when people speak about Rise Mzansi and they speak about the Palestine stance. I think maybe if you could just take a moment to clarify that for
Yes,
us and for the
thank
listeners
you.
out there.
Okay, can I say something? People make an assumption. So, the Oppenheimer family supports the DA generally, the various members of the Oppenheimer family. There is only one member of that family that has donated to us, it's Rebecca. I must tell you unequivocally, Rebecca has no difficulty at all with our position in Palestine. Never has, and has never raised it with me. The only time she spoke to me about it was recently. Just to say, to the extent, because she sees the social media chatter, to the extent that anybody thinks that I am, please, guys, do what you do. I am happy with your principles. I am happy with your activism. It's not an issue. And it's very frustrating when we've got the position that we've got. We still being questioned for, like, okay, they would have pulled their support. She would have pulled her support if that wasn't the case. And I think it's unfair. I understand, some of our opponents have tried to use it against us, but what can I say?
All right, I don't want to take too much more of your time, but just finally now the transition from campaigning to now actually being in Parliament, what's that looking like for you? Are you up to the task for that?
Hey, listen, I'm not one to claim things are easy. So when I entered politics and my colleagues entered politics, we were scared, man. We hadn't done this before. It's uncharted territory. Even Parliament, I'm scared. I don't know how Parliament is. I've never been in Parliament except as a visitor to present at committee meetings and that kind of thing. The one thing South Africans can count on is that we take our work very seriously. We work hard. We are just going to work hard. That's all I can promise. We're going to work very hard so that the people can see that they didn't waste their votes
Yeah.
on us.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you for the past 10 minutes or so. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
and all the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I
That
appreciate it.
was Mr. Songezo Zibi, who is heading to Parliament after this election. Of course, this election has really shaken up South African politics. We're still here at the Results Center and we'll be keeping you updated as and when things happen. Stay tuned.